Welcome, everybody. I'd like to start and end on time. That's the only place in my life that I am on time. So try to maintain a good track record. But I'm Lisa Marshall, the program director for HeatSmart Tompkins, now also serving Chemung County, which is actually where I live. So I'm tuning in today from as my husband says, under the middle finger of the Finger Lakes, right down here in Chemung County. And it's nice to see all of you. We are expecting a bunch more people. So Nina, I made you a co-host, and if you could just keep an eye on the waiting room and make sure you let people in, very much appreciate that. And I am just going to welcome you. Thank you for spending, 45 minutes to an hour with us here tonight out of your busy schedules. I'm going to share my screen and just get started on the presentation. And after a short presentation, I'll introduce our HeatSmart partner installers and take folks' questions. So during the presentation, if you just don't mind staying muted, and please make use of the chat function to ask questions or make comments. And you'll notice that our wonderful clean energy intern, Nina, will also be posting links to related information in the chat, how to enroll, how to find out more on our website, because in a short presentation, I just can't cover everything that you might want to know. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So once again, I'll just welcome everybody to this webinar with HeatSmart Tompkins. I'm Lisa Marshall, the HeatSmart Tompkins Program Director, and we now serve Tompkins County and Chemung County. We are a community-based nonprofit. We started as just a grassroots community effort here in Tompkins County. And what we like to emphasize in our outreach and education efforts are the cost savings, the comfort and healthy home solutions, and the climate solutions that are all available to you for your own home or building. So HeatSmart is one of the NYSERDA clean heating and cooling communities that are popping up all over New York State. You can see them pictured here. And I'm very thrilled to say that this map needs to be updated. And there are now a few more of these clean heating and cooling communities coming down the pike that have been funded. And also, like HeatSmart at Seago has now expanded to several more counties. And HeatSmart Tompkins has expanded down here to Chemung County, and there's pretty soon going to be HeatSmart coverage in all these areas. So if you're joining us from a different part of the state, or if you have a friend who's interested in a different part of the state, you can direct them to their local clean heating and cooling community program to help get them started. And so the other reason I love to show this slide is that HeatSmart Tompkins was the very first HeatSmart program before NYSERDA got involved. And we just pioneered this idea of doing education and outreach around home energy efficiency, and in particular, heat pump adoption for your home heating and cooling. And we're really proud of the way this idea has grown and flourished here in New York State, and even beyond New York. There's now HeatSmart programs in Massachusetts, and they're in other parts of the country popping up all the time. So we're really proud of being the pioneer program that got this all started. So why do we need such a thing as a clean heating and cooling program, or a HeatSmart program? Well, the reason is because you might have heard about the climate crisis, or some are calling it the climate emergency. And the reason we are having a problem with our climate is because of all the greenhouse gas emissions from burning fossil fuels, mostly, that are going up and up and up each year, and have been, I'm 52. They've been going up every year of my life without any pause. And in order to maintain a livable climate for us and our children, and all of the wonderful diverse species on the planet, we're going to need to do something about this pretty quickly. And so when we look at where those greenhouse gas emissions come from here in New York State, they come from basically three main sectors, which are transportation, on-site combustion, and electricity generation. And this on-site combustion piece of the pie, this what is 38% here, which is a little bit of a fudged number. It's actually a bigger number total than transportation if you calculate it a slightly more honest way. So a lot of that on-site combustion is home heating. And that's because 90% of our households in New York use fossil fuels to heat our homes. So each of us, 90% of us have a furnace or a boiler churning away, eating up fossil fuels to produce heat. And that is why HeatSmart exists, is to help educate people and make it easier for people to adopt alternatives to that current scenario. So how do we do that? Well, that's a pretty daunting question. And the main way we are going to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions in these sectors, transportation and home and on-site combustion, is something that is been termed beneficial electrification. So if we electrify our cars and if we electrify our heating, we can immediately have more efficient heating and transportation in our homes and for our cars with the current way that we generate electricity. And then as we add more and more renewables to the electricity grid, those methods of transportation and heating become even more efficient. So this is a great graph from the Acadia Center that just shows, this top is what most of us have now, is a fossil fuel car and a fossil fuel burning heating system in our house. And this is how many, million metric tons that of CO2 are produced by that. And down below, you can see that drops down significantly if you switch that to electricity. And this what it says current RPS that's with the way we produce our electricity now. And then as we increase the renewables, so more wind, more solar on the grid, then these become even more efficient and we're emitting less carbon dioxide. So in a simplified way, that's what beneficial electrification is all about. So how do we, more specifically, because this webinar is steps to a fossil-free home, how are we using energy in our homes? This is not for New York. The next slide will show you New York more specifically, but I liked this slide because of the cute little house. And this is sort of an average house in the US, how they use electricity. So 55% of that, not how we use electricity, how we use energy, excuse me. 55% of our energy use in our homes is heating and air conditioning, and most of that is heating. Only a very small sliver is air conditioning. 15% is running our appliances, 15% is hot water heating, 10% is lighting, and 5% is electronics. So the cell phone, the computer, the TV, etc. And that is the sort of an average breakdown. Of course, your mileage may vary. This next slide shows you a little bit more closely how we're using energy in our homes here in New York. So on the right-hand side, it's showing New York compared to the average mid-Atlantic states region and the whole US. And as you can see, heating for us is space heating. This pink part is 56% of how we're using energy in our homes. It's just huge because we live in this cold climate, and only 1% in New York is air conditioning. Although this is a little bit of an older graph, I think it's from 2012. So that may have shifted somewhat in the intervening years, but generally speaking, it's about right. And then I want you to notice this 17%, this orange pie piece for water heating, because we're going to talk about that as one of the steps to a fossil-free home. And then 26% appliances, electronics, and lighting. And I'm not really going to talk about lighting, but I'll do a shout out right now. If you haven't ever worked with the energy navigators to have a look at your own house, they are a great group. They're volunteers who are trained as energy navigators, and they will come to your house and help you look at things very specifically, like your lighting. And basically, if you're not using LED light bulbs yet, then get on it, because it's by far the longest lasting and most efficient light bulbs. And that's all I'm going to say about light bulbs. Okay. So 56% of the energy in New York households is for space heating, and 17% for hot water. So what are these steps that we're talking about? Step one is the building envelope. So that is how well insulated and sealed is your house. And as you can see on the right here, this is how heat energy escapes from your house. All these different places, and the most is the floors, walls, and ceilings, but also the ducts, the fireplace, the plumbing, doors, windows, fans, vents, and electrical outlets. I just want to point out that Windows is 10% on average in this graphic. And so a lot of people will say, well, the first thing you should do is replace your windows. And I don't think that's the first thing you should do. I personally preserve the beautiful antique wood windows in my house and try to seal up other things first. Windows are a big piece, but they aren't sort of as big as most people think. So in the average home, the air leakage is squandering 15 to 25% of the heat that you're producing. So the first step to a fossil-free home is to just make sure you're not literally throwing that heat out the window, so that you're burning less fossil fuels to heat your house while you're still using those. And that the same amount of unwanted heat is coming into our houses in the summer equivalently. So that's not good. It's about the same as if you had a completely sealed house, but you left one window wide open in your home all winter long. None of us would do that. Of course, that's a horrifying thought, but that's actually what we're all doing. In fact, if we haven't taken care to seal up our house properly. So the order of operations for insulation and air sealing is sometimes people talk about the ABCs. If you don't know where to start, remember the ABCs. A is for attic, B is for basement, and C is for the conditioned space. So that's if you can't afford to get your whole house done all at once, that's the order that you want to go in for the maximum benefit. Okay, so that's step one, is just make sure your heat isn't going out the window. Step two, that big chunk, is space heating. And that's what HeatSmart Tompkins is all about, is promoting air source or ground source heat pumps for space heating. On the left, you have a picture of an outside unit of an air source heat pump. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's a great little machine that keeps your house warm in the winter and cool in the summer. And on the right, this graphic is showing some ground coils for a ground source heat pump system. I'm going to talk a little bit more about those. They're going to get top billing in this webinar. So what is a heat pump? If you're not familiar with heat pumps at all, you might be confused about them. Actually, all of you have a heat pump in your home. That's what runs your refrigerator. You might have noticed that there's a refrigeration loop on the back of your refrigerator that keeps the inside of your refrigerator cool. And you might have put your hand behind a refrigerator and felt that it was very warm out there. That's because of the way the refrigeration loop works. So inside that loop is a chemical called a refrigerant. And the loop works on the principles of physics. So when you condense the refrigerant, you get heat out because there's a phase change in the refrigerant. And when you expand it, you get heat in when you evaporate that refrigerant. So it's sort of a genius thing, because it is just this incredibly efficient way to take heat out of the air or out of the ground and put it through this refrigeration cycle that allows you to use that heat to air condition or heat your house. So ground source heat pumps basically have three main components. There's the loop field, which is shown here on the right. That's a horizontal loop field. There can also be a vertical loop field where you dig vertical boreholes and put the loops down in those, or you can put loops, heat exchange loops in a body of water sometimes. So those collect the heat from the ground and bring it into your house. And then it goes into the heat pump itself, which is this little guy on the left. And it looks kind of big in that picture, but it's really about the size of a refrigerator, maybe a little bit bigger than your existing furnace or boiler, but it's not enormous. And that's where the refrigerant loop takes that heat from the ground and puts it through the condensation process and puts the heat out into your house through your distribution system, which is the third part. So in this one, we're seeing a forced air distribution system, which is these ducts that take the hot air and distribute it throughout the house. We also have air source heat pumps. A very popular kind of air source heat pump is the ductless mini split. It's very popular because it's incredibly versatile. You can sort of put one of these almost anywhere that you need some heating or some air conditioning. In fact, a lot of people in this area have ductless mini splits for air conditioning, and they don't even know that they could be used for heating, which is really unfortunate because they spend a lot of money on an air conditioning system that if they had invested in one that was a good, efficient cold climate ductless mini split, they could use it for their heating as well. And these are taking the heat energy from the outside air and putting it through a refrigerant loop and bringing that is connected from this outside compressor, and then sending it inside to these inside heads that are pictured, either this here, or you can see the drawing here. Those are high wall mounted heads. You can also get low wall mounted heads that look more like a traditional radiator. And something that's really important to understand about these air source heat pumps is that a lot of people think that they don't really work in cold climates like ours. And that did used to be true, and it's not true anymore. There's fantastic progress been made in the technology for these air source heat pumps, and they work great. I was in Norway last year, and everyone there has an air source heat pump. And Norway's colder than Ithaca, so this is a very good heating system now for cold climates. They are guaranteed to operate down to negative 13, and they still function down to negative 19. And these are, because the outside air is quite a bit colder than the ground, their efficiencies are not quite as good as a ground source heat pump, but still they can be up to 250% efficient, which is really great. Definitely a lot more efficient than any kind of fossil fuel burning you might be doing in your house. And just want to let you know, in terms of heat pumps, how inexpensive they are to operate as compared to the fossil fuel options that many of us are using in our homes, and even compared to pellet stoves. Ground source heat pumps are the absolute cheapest kind of heating to operate in, except for a wood stove. And they also are much more efficient and provide air conditioning as well. And air source heat pumps are a close second. So as you can see, a lot of people are still heating with propane, and by putting in any kind of heat pump system to replace your propane, you're going to be cutting your bills at least in half, but often much, much more as compared to propane, and also much more efficient than any kind of electric baseboard heating. So if you are heating with propane, there's just as somebody just said yesterday on Facebook, I thought I couldn't afford heat pumps, and then I realized I couldn't afford not to have heat pumps. So I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm not going to talk too much about the incentives, but just to say there are incentives available to help make the upfront cost of heat pump installation more affordable. These are the incentives through NYSEG or whatever your local utility is. They could be different for different utilities, but in this service area, we have NYSEG, and this is what they offer is $1,500 off per 10,000 BTU hours of heating load for ground source, and $1,000 off of 10,000 BTU hours of heating load for air source. And since most of us have no idea what that means, I can just tell you a typical rebate for ground source is going to be close to $4,000 to $9,000 off the top of installing such a system, and $2,500 to $6,000 off the price of an air source heat pump, depending on the heating load that you need for your house. For the rest of this year, there's also a 26% federal tax credit for ground source heat pumps, and a measly $300 Energy Star tax credit for air source heat pumps. But hey, it's, $300 is still $300. So next year, that federal tax credit for ground source heat pumps goes to 22%, unless something changes at the federal level. And there are a lot more incentives to help folks pay for these heating systems if you are income qualified. We've just done a couple of webinars on that. You can find them on our website, or you can get in touch with me to find out more. And if you're heating, again, with propane, oil, or electric resistance heat, there's going to be a heat pump pilot to help people who are income qualified convert to heat pumps who are heating with those fuels. So please get in touch with me if you're interested in that, because it's going to be a really great, but also very short-term opportunity available to you. And that's all I'm going to say about that tonight, but feel free to ask questions about that later, or make an appointment to talk to me. Okay, so step 3. Step 1 was your envelope. Step 2 is your heating system, and step 3 is your hot water. So what we recommend here at HeatSmart is a heat pump water heater. They are so again, there are different numbers: 15% of your home's energy use, 17%. This slide says 23%. I can't remember where I got that number from, but it's probably about 20% for most of you. These heat pump water heaters are up to 3 times more efficient than the water heater that you're using now. They have very low operating costs because they're heat pumps. And you have to pay a little attention to where you put these, because they are this little top unit on here, or also this one that sits on top of the water heater, is a heat pump. So it's taking heat out of the air. So you don't want it in your living space that you're trying to keep warm. That's sort of counterproductive. And you want it to be in a basement space. That's best. Also, they're a little taller than a conventional water heater. So if you don't have a tall enough basement, that might not work for you. But if you can, this is what we highly recommend here at HeatSmart. And we're really thrilled that NYSEG came out with a $700 rebate for these guys. There didn't used to be any rebate, and now there's a $700. And there's, again, for the rest of this year, a $300 Energy Star federal tax credit that you can apply for. So, that's $1,000 off the price. So there's really no reason to not put in one of these water heaters if you are looking for a new water heater. I should have said at the beginning, the order of the steps might be different for each homeowner, and we can talk about that later. I put them in order of sort of how I prioritize them in my head, but step 1 for you might be the water heater and not the building envelope. So I just want to throw that out there. Okay, so that's step 3. Step 4, cooking. I find that a lot of people are ready to give up fossil fuel heating, but they're not ready to give up fossil fuel cooking because they say, well, good chefs cook on gas. That's because they haven't met the wonderful induction cooktop or stove. They are much more efficient. They are cleaner. They are safer. And they're cooler. In other words, they're not going to heat up your kitchen in the middle of summer because you're not going to have an open flame there. And so induction cooktops work with basically like a magnet that connects to your pot or pan, and that magnetic connection is what creates the heat. So they are, the food that's being cooked gets 90% of the heat that's generated, as opposed to when you're burning gas, 40 or 55% of the heat that's generated goes actually to the food. So the rest is heating up your pot, heating up your kitchen. And top chefs all over the world really recommend induction cooking. Everywhere in Europe that you go has an induction cooktop. And these days, the snazzy fancy thing to have in a gourmet kitchen is a snazzy fancy induction cooktop. Not gas is past, and this is the way to go. I'll just add one more thing about this, which is that the Rocky Mountain Institute has been doing a ton of research on indoor air quality from fossil fuel combustion, and they've looked at cooking over gas, and the health impacts and air quality impacts of cooking on gas are actually quite a bit worse than most people thought. And if you are still cooking with gas, make sure you're always venting to the outside, and don't let children cook on a gas stove because it's actually pretty harmful. So one more thing about induction cooking: if you aren't ready to replace your stove quite yet, and maybe you're waiting to do a kitchen remodel, or maybe we're waiting to get a heat pump, or whatever you're waiting for, you can get for about $50 a 1-burner induction cooktop that just plugs in like a portable one from IKEA, from Aldi, or from several other places. And that's what I have because I haven't replaced my gas stove yet. And so if I'm only needing 1 burner, or if it's really hot in my kitchen, I just use the single burner one on my countertop instead of turning my stove on. So that's a great interim measure if you're not ready to replace your stove yet. So we're almost done. So step 5 is go solar or go renewable. So how is that electricity that you're using in your house? Are you just getting whatever NYSEG is delivering to you, or are you going to do one better? There's 3 ways to go solar for your electricity. One is a community solar farm, and that's the one that I would sort of most recommend right now. And there's 2 ways to become involved with the community solar farm. You can subscribe, or you can purchase the solar panels. So you actually own them. So this is not at your house. This is in a field somewhere nearby, and you will automatically right now save money if you join one of these solar farms compared to what you pay NYSEG for dirtier power. So there's really no downside to the community solar farm that I know of. Then, of course, there's rooftop solar. That's what I have at my house. And I think it's really great. And I love the bragging rights of having the rooftop solar. The problem for me is I did the steps out of order. So I got solar, then I got an electric hybrid car, then I got an all electric car, and now I'm going to get heat pumps. So my solar panel array isn't big enough to power all of the electricity needs in my house. And because you're only allowed to net meter in one place, I can't buy into a community solar farm because I have solar panels on my roof. So I think it's great if you want to have solar panels at your own house, but that's one reason I would definitely recommend the solar farm. By the way, though, at least 2 of our installers, our heat pump installer partners, Halco and Daily, do solar panel installation. So if you're interested in rooftop solar, you can talk to them about that. And the third option is that can be combined with these other 2 is buying into or signing up for a renewable ESCO, an energy subscription. So I'm signed up with Energy Co-op of America, and so I'm buying my power technically from them instead of from NYSEG, although NYSEG still does the delivery and charges me for the delivery. So that's how I assuage my conscience for the smaller than I need rooftop solar array, is I also have this renewable ESCO on the side. But do be careful about ESCOs because they can be kind of shady. And Jerry Wiley, who's a volunteer with HeatSmart Tompkins, keeps a close eye on them and publishes a monthly report on ESCOs. So go to the HeatSmart Tompkins website if you are interested in learning more about the different choices in ESCOs that are out there. So those are the 5 steps. We'll review what they are. They are building envelope, they are heating, they are hot water, cooking, and solar. As I said, what order is right for you? It might not be the order that I put them in. And if you can afford to do it, you could do all 5 at once. If you can't afford to, then really working with HeatSmart and with our installers, we can help you sort of advise you how to do which thing when. And if you're silly like me and you did solar first and the other things afterwards, that's okay too. We're all just doing it as best we can. I'll just quickly say, in the time of COVID, we no longer go out in the community and do our community meetings. We have these webinars instead. And we invite you to join as many as you like. If you miss one or it's an inconvenient time, we do put the recordings up on our website afterwards, so look for those. We are doing a really great series of home tours of HeatSmart homes in the area. A lot of people that have implemented some or all of these 5 solutions into their homes already, so you can meet the homeowner, meet the installer that put it in, and talk to them, ask questions. And again, we put those up on our website when they're done. And we've also added a lot of information to our website. We have fact sheets, we have all kinds of, we can read about all the different installers, you can read more about these technologies. So please make use of that website. And we hope that you will enroll with HeatSmart. And when you do, that means that you're asking for our installer partners to give you a proposal for your home. And just to reassure you, if you're not comfortable with people coming into your home at this time during COVID, our installers can do remote assessments. So you can just ask them to do that. And they have developed really great techniques to assess what you need in your home without stepping foot across the doorway. And if you do invite them to come to your home, they've also put into place very careful protocols to keep their employees and all of you safe. So I really trust them to be doing that every day. So the way to get started is to enroll on our website, heatsmarttompkins.org. If you're joining us from one of the other HeatSmart communities, they also have websites. I'll show you their contact information. Home assessments are free. You can get 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of our installer partners to give you an assessment. There's no obligation whatsoever to you for taking part in the program. And I'm here at any stage of the journey, whether you're just first thinking about making changes in your home, or whether you've been thinking about it for a while and you're ready to sign a contract, or whether you've signed a contract but you still have questions. I'm here as a resource for you to sort of help you along the way. I'm just going to show you this slide. If you are not in the HeatSmart Tompkins area and you want to contact one of the other HeatSmart programs, you might want to take a screenshot of this slide, or I'm also happy to send you this information if you're in one of these other neighboring HeatSmart program territories. We work very collaboratively and closely together, and we're happy to help you find the HeatSmart home for you. And with that, I just want to introduce you now to our HeatSmart Installer Partners. These 4 companies have gone through a very rigorous application and vetting process with our program to be a part of it. They are the companies locally that we think provide the best equipment, best design, best customer service, have the best track records, and are just a pleasure to work with. We recommend all 4 of these companies. Each of them offers something slightly different. And Daily Geothermal and NP Environmental are heat pump specialists. And Halco and Snug Planet are whole home contractors doing a lot of insulation, air sealing, and as well as heat pump installations. So that's it for me. I am going to stop sharing my screen and stop talking for a minute. And thank you for sitting through that. And I now want to welcome our installer partners to introduce themselves and then take your questions. So we'll kick off with Matt Dennis from Halco Energy.
Yeah, I go first this time. Hi all. Thanks for joining us here tonight. It's pretty cool. So just tell you a little bit about Halco and what we do. We are a whole home performance company, as Lisa had mentioned. We do insulation, air sealing, HVAC, heat pumps, plumbing, electric, windows and doors, basement waterproofing, pretty much anything and everything under the sun. And the cool part about Lisa's presentation, as she went through each little step, we do all that. I can tell you how many times I've gone into homes, tightened them up, insulated them, switched them to heat pumps, and then ran an electrical line for their brand new induction stove or electric range to get off of the gas. And also a couple of dryers too, and electric car chargers. So sort of one-stop shop. What really makes Halco different is that we do everything. Our motto is, yes, we do that. So it has to do with home energy, home comfort. We can take care of all that for you. We get your house tightened up. We get you off fossil fuels. We put up solar and get you net zero. And we do everything in house. We have 140 employees that work for the company. Actually, it's probably more than that at the moment. And we're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That's not just a tagline. That's legitimate. If you call us at 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning, a real life human at the office answers the phone. And so if you're never going to get an answering service, you're never going to leave a message. We'll get back to you. You're not wrestling a guy out of bed to find a cell phone in the middle of the night. You're calling our office, and our overnight staff is answering the phone. And we're dedicated to making customers for life. We've been in business now for 36 years, and we've got generations of folks that rely on Halco and in what we do. We're one of the largest home performance companies that works with NYSERDA, with all the different rebates and grants and incentives and everything that's out there. Will help you navigate the sea of endless paperwork and the monotony that comes with all these types of programs. But we help you do all that. We're experts in it. We can knock it out fairly efficiently, so you don't have to sort of go through the rigmarole with it. But we're happy to be part of the HeatSmart Tompkins. We've been with them since the beginning. We're part of a couple of other HeatSmart programs throughout the state as well. So we're happy to be here, and hopefully we can help you out and do some awesome stuff for you.
Thanks, Matt. Kevin from NP Environmental, why don't you go next?
Hi, everyone. So my name's Kevin. I'm from NP Environmental. I'm both a field engineer and a foreman with the company. So you'll see me in your home doing a site survey and offering a quote, as well as on site doing an install. And a little bit about NP. We're a design build company. So start to finish, from engineering to excavating a loop field for a geothermal, to the inside installation, to the service at the end to maintain the system. We're with you the whole way, doing all of it. see, we've been around since 2004. The business started, and we've been with HeatSmart Tompkins since the beginning. We specialize in heat pumps, so that's our 100% goal. That's our 100% focus. Geothermal, air source heat pump hot water heaters, and all of the auxiliary ventilation, air quality devices that go with that. That's what we do. That's what we've done for the whole time. And a little bit more about the company and the people that work for it. And this is the part that I really like talking about is that heat pump focus develops kind of a company atmosphere where each individual that works for us, we have about 20 employees. That's what they're all about. That's their career. That's their lifestyle. That's what they talk to people about is heat pumps. Everyone's got that burning passion for it, for getting away from fossil fuels, taking care of the environment. We've all grown up in the New York, upstate New York area. A lot of us are outdoors people and we want to protect that. And we're very passionate about the technology because it covers a little bit of everything. We've got electrical, pipe fitting, mechanical, anything with pumps, valves, or refrigerant, and we're all about it. And then the big thing we're passionate about too is the people. The like-minded people, everyone that's on this webinar tonight, the fellow installers, the HeatSmart staff, and you, the homeowner, we all have a common goal, and we all see the value in these systems. So that's what NP is about. We'd love to offer a quote for a heat pump system. So reach out to us, and thank you.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Go ahead, Elizabeth Harrod from Snug Planet.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Harrod from Snug Planet. Snug started in 2006 with a mission to reduce building energy use in ways that make sense for people and the planet. At the time, the founder of Snug Planet, my husband John, was finishing up his PhD in forest as a system. He's a botanist and forest scientist. And after all those years in graduate and getting a PhD, he said, I don't think I want to study forests. It's been done. I want my career, my life to be about reducing people's carbon footprint and reducing home energy use. So he dropped his career as a forest scientist and became a building scientist. So we, from the ground up, have this whole house scientific approach to looking at your home. As Lisa said, just starting off with reducing how much energy your home is going to need. That's always the starting point. Reduce and then produce. So for many years, all we did was air sealing and insulation. But as soon as cold climate heat pumps came along, John got very excited about them, and electrification and having such an easy path that Lisa just laid out to fossil-free homes. I'll just say that our home became a fossil-free home during COVID. In May, we turned the gas meter off. First, I got rid of the dryer. That was my first step. I already had electric cooking because John knows about gas and wouldn't let me have gas. And then we've gone from wood heating actually to air source heat pumps for air conditioning and heating. So we're very excited about that. Snug has a very detailed approach, very customer service approach. We live in Tompkins County. Everybody knows how small county this is. Everybody's going to talk. So the fact that our customers come from our customers, they refer us, and that always makes me very happy. We maintain and service the things that we install. That's always an important question to ask any HVAC installer. And obviously, like Matt said, we're experts in all these years of the paperwork and all the new rules and the nuances, and that doesn't apply to you, and here's what's true for you and that kind of thing. So we'll walk you through it. And just as everyone said today, our goal is to get, all of New York, upstate New York, to be fossil free. It's plain and simple. And we're excited to be a part of HeatSmart to help us get the word out and get people excited about this mission. So thanks a lot for coming tonight.
Thanks so much, everybody. And it looks like our fourth partner had to drop off, but I'll just do a quick intro for Daily Electric, Daily Geothermal. They are a family-owned company out of Penn Yan. They started as a plumbing company. Ryan Daly's dad was a plumber, and Ryan took over the business. But a secret about Ryan is that he hates plumbing, so he went into became an electrician and had a successful plumbing and electrical business. And then a client one day said, can you put in a geothermal heat pump system for us? And Ryan said, I have no idea. I've never done one. But then he just went and researched geothermal, fell in love with it, put in that one system, and it's become a bigger and bigger part of their business, to the point where that's mostly what they do now is geothermal. Ryan is great at putting in geothermal systems, but he's a terrible businessman. So he had to beg his wife, Leah, to leave the job that she loved at Strong Hospital and come and work for the company so that he could actually have a functioning company. And Leah said, oh my goodness, what have you guys been doing? So now they have a functional company that also is a great installer. And so check them out on our website. That's all I'll say about them. But they are our newest member of the HeatSmart Tompkins community, and have really rounded out as a fourth installer. Each of our installers offers something just a little bit different, and they complement each other quite well. So that's all I'll say. Thanks for listening. I don't see any questions in the chat, so folks who are joining us, please go ahead and ask questions. This time is for you. Ask questions of any of us, or type them in the chat if you're shy about unmuting. If you don't ask questions, I'll keep to go. Go ahead. Yes, Richard.
Yeah. I come from a hydronic background, boilers, and mainly condensing boilers, burning propane, natural gas, and then non-condensing in oil. And one thing, all the points brought up are excellent and absolutely valid. And one thing that now that I'm in the heat pump is I don't have to worry about combustion anymore. I don't have to worry about flue gas and carbon monoxide. And that is can be a problem, especially with venting condensing boilers, because of temperatures and the vent material used and the design of the boiler itself. And the other is condensing boilers are different than regular cast iron boilers in that they are more sensitive to the gas supply, whether it be propane or natural gas. So it's not like a burner on your stove, it's a completely different technology. And being more sensitive, propane can have problems in the winter with frozen regulators and water in the line. So there are other things other than just the efficiencies that we're talking about and getting off of fossil fuels that can actually leave you in the lurch, perhaps in the middle of winter. And then carbon monoxide poisoning is not common, but it does happen. And with heat pumps, none of those problems exist. So it's another good reason to get away from that.
I did not pay Richard to come on this webinar and tell us all that. Kevin, that we have a question in the chat. Maybe you want to take this. So this was something I didn't cover in the webinar, but if you're going to electrify everything, probably you're going to need to upgrade your electrical service. So the question is, what size electrical service in amps does a typical size house need to support heat pump, space, water, and electric car?
Sure. A lot of houses, if they have, say, only 100 amp service and it's jam-packed, we recommend going right up to a 200 amp service. You could probably get away with like a 150 if you're limited, but if you are going to electrify everything, I was at a house today that had electric cars and a breaker for probably every receptacle. It was jam-packed, but it was a 200 amp service, so no problem. Moved some things around, put a sub panel in, and 200 should be probably the goal, and that should get you all set.
Great. Matt, do you want to weigh in on that too?
Yes. Everything you just said is absolutely correct. Yeah, I mean, if you want to do heat pumps and you only have 100 amp service, you're probably not going to pull it off. So, and that's very common. 100 amp service is very common in a gas house because you don't need a lot of electricity because you have, gas appliances and stuff. So, but yes, the 200 amp service upgrades. We have a residential electrician, and that seems to be all he does is electrical service upgrades, and we do a lot of them. But that is one thing you really need to keep in mind. You cannot just plug in any of these heat pumps, especially if you want to you do go all electric. 100 amp service is not going to do it. And 200 amp is really what you need. I can tell you, in all my years, I've never had to see that anyone go above 200 amps, but there's really probably no need for that. But 200 amps is where you want to be.
Yeah, Elizabeth.
I'll just say something quick about drying. It's not about heat pumps, but when I got from a gas dryer, I live downtown, to electric dryer, I needed a different outlet. Maybe somebody who knows about that. I just called my electrician, and then he came and put it in. And so that was something I wasn't actually expecting, but
yeah, I was thinking about putting dryers in the presentation, but I wasn't sure how many people have gas dryers. I know in California, we always had gas dryers, but
everybody on natural gas has a natural gas dryer.
Yeah,
okay.
it's not uncommon. And I've come across some propane dryers. I don't know why somebody's wasting money on propane, but
Wow.
but I've seen it. But yeah, I mean, it's not it's more common than you think.
Well, I definitely recommend hanging the clothes out on the line if you can, but in our climate, that isn't always going to work. So yeah, there's some really great dryer options nowadays. We did a home tour at Tony and Graffia's house, and he had this really cool dryer that didn't have to vent to the outside, so that there was no heat loss from that.
The heat pump dryer.
Yeah, the heat pump dryer. So that was kind of cool.
That's the next evolution there.
Yeah. So and that electrical panel upgrade, one more thing I'll say about that is in our work scopes, that tends to be a little item that surprises people and adds to the cost in a way that people don't really love. And in this upcoming program that's going to launch in a couple of weeks for a heat pump pilot program, there is some money funding for upgrading. So if you are income qualified and looking for a heat pump system, that electrical panel upgrade can be part of the work scope that is covered by this pilot. So again, if you and the income qualification, I should just say, many of us who we never thought of ourselves as income qualified actually are temporarily, due to the COVID relief package from New York State. They increased the eligibility for income qualification for energy efficiency to 120% of median. The table is on our website, but like for a family of it's anything up to $115,138. So if you're making, and if you made less than that last year, you can use your tax return. But if you made more than that last year, but you have taken a downturn because of COVID, you can use your last few paychecks to show that you're making less now. So it's a really flexible program. They really want people to be able to use it. And that can give you grants for doing the installation and air sealing, water heaters, and then there's going to be this special pilot program for heat pumps. So again, get in touch with us if you think you might be eligible for that. Bob Daniker says, what size electric service? Oh no, we already did that one. Any other questions for folks? Thanks for staying with us. I see some friendly faces out there, but everybody's feeling shy tonight. All right, Elizabeth, do you want to say one more thing?
Since there's a few extra minutes, I'll just put in a plug for a way to become fossil or net zero, even if you don't get all the way down. Like say your dryer is brand new and you just bought it, you don't want to get a new electric dryer. You can always offset your carbon by making a contribution to the Finger Lakes Climate Fund. And then they use that money that they pool to help people who can't afford it reduce their building energy use. So that's another tricky way. We could even put a slide in there, Lisa, about the climate fund as a way to get that last little bit down to net zero, that I'm a huge fan.
Yes, we do have grants through HeatSmart and through the climate fund for as well. So there's actually quite a lot of incentives around right now. And one more thing I was going to say is, when you're thinking about your steps, as I said, your order might be different than mine, right? But when do people normally replace a water heater or a heater or a boiler? It's when it goes out, in the middle of the night on the coldest week in January, and then they are sort of at the mercy of whatever they can get in that moment. So what I really encourage people to do who are starting to think about this is sort of make a checklist and think about, your sort of wish list, and research and think about what you're ready to do. And if you're, hopefully you have your furnace or boiler serviced, ask your service technician how many more years of life you think should be on it. If it's getting close to the end of its life, don't wait for it to fail, replace it now. If it's not getting close to the end of its life, think about, okay, in 3 years, I'm going to get a heat pump. Or if you're just ready to be off fossil fuels now, of course, do it now. If your water heater is over 10 years old, ditch that thing and get a heat pump water heater. We're definitely not telling people to take brand new equipment and put it in the landfill. That wouldn't be very good for the environment either. But start to really think about, if you're planning on a kitchen remodel and you're looking at appliances, look at that Energy Star list, look at induction, different kinds of induction stoves and cooktops, and think about which one is right for you. And if you aren't sure about induction and you don't know if you're going to like it, find someone who has one or get one of those portable ones and check it out. You'll fall in love with it. It's really precision cooking. I've made it my personal mission to introduce people to these, and people who said they would never ever stop cooking with gas have started to say, I have to have this stove. So they really are great. So start to sort of make your own personal checklist and think about which steps you're ready to take this year, next year, and the following year, till you can brag like Elizabeth that she turned off the gas and she's fully electrified and fossil free.
Lisa, there's a humongous question in the chat now that would take an hour to answer, but maybe someone could take a stab at it.
Oh, yes, Emily. Well, I'll say 2 things and then I'll turn it over. So Emily wants to know, do you always recommend ground source over air source? No, not always, of course. Nick Prepetnowitz of NP Environmental did a nice webinar for us on, how to decide air source or ground source, which is on our website, which you can read. I will say what I say is, if you can get ground source, get ground source. Why? Because it's more efficient and it lasts longer. And so it's better for you. It's cheaper to run. So it's better for you and better for the climate. But it isn't the right solution for every house. Depending on the way your house is built, the geology, the geography, the landscaping, and your budget, it might not be the best solution for you. If you just want to heat an outbuilding, a garage, one part of your house, then an air source heat pump mini split makes much more sense. Ground source heat pumps are more expensive. That said, they aren't always. I've seen proposals for the same house where the air source proposal actually costs more than the ground source proposal. So, talk to our installer partners, get the proposals, look at them side by side. If they're very overwhelming to you, or even if you just want to talk them through with another human being, that's what I'm here for, since I'm not selling anything except, except climate solutions. I'm not making any money, so I would love to look at them, and and that's how you'll figure out what is best for your house. So is ground source sort of the gold standard? Yes. Is it the right solution for every home? No. And let the installers weigh in on that too.
I would, what I usually tell folks is when they ask, it depends on a lot of different factors. One is certainly more efficient. Geothermal is certainly more efficient. It's going to last a lot longer. It's better in a lot of different ways. But there are cost factors. Some houses, the extent sometimes of the retrofit needed to make geothermal work can be cost prohibitive. But you know, it really just depends on what we have to work with, what it is you're looking for, and how do we make it all make sense. And sometimes it does just come down to cost, and you know, we respect that. It's just a matter of figuring out what works best for you. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't have any particular personal preference. We just want to do what's right for you and what makes sense for you. But yeah, every house is different. There's no cookie cutter option to heat your home. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
I'll jump in on this one too.
Great, Kevin. Thanks.
And I would definitely say, like Lisa mentioned, check out the recorded video of the video Nick did on this, his presentation. I'm sure he did a great job of talking about it in that. So, but I'd say probably the main three factors that we're looking at when deciding this are cost, which has been mentioned, the loop field, which has been mentioned. You know, can we put a loop field in? Is there physical space for it? Will it be effective based on the geology? But then also distribution. That's another big one. We can't offer radiant from an air source heat pump. If that's what you want, and you want it from a heat pump, we're going ground source. That said, though, I mean, we can offer ducted or ductless units from each. And at that point, yeah, it comes down to cost, really. I had one customer not long ago that wanted to, based on her distribution and how long she intended to keep the house, couldn't really justify the ground source for her, so we went air source. So those are my points I want to add.
Yeah, I think I know who that is, Kevin. I wanted her to go ground source. Elizabeth? All covered? Yeah.
For once, I'm just gonna let the guys have their turn. I like what they said.
Awesome.
I'm getting an air source heat pump for my house. I like them. So.
Yeah, those of us with radiator systems in our houses, converting to ground source, if we want air conditioning, that means we have to add extra units called fan coils, which are great units. They heat and cool your house, but that's going to make your system more expensive. So sometimes you're going to want to, you know, just ditch the whole radiant system and go with air source heat pumps. Or you're going to want to just ditch the whole radiant system and figure out how to put ducts in your house, which is another option we've seen happen. We have a video home tour actually of with Daily, and that took a propane house with radiant and did ducts and made it a forced air house that you can see on our website. So yeah, there's a few different options, and figuring out what's best for you is a mix between what you want and what your house offers and then your budget. So that's what we'll, you know, try to help find everybody the right fit for you. What I like to say is, you know, you can do almost any system in almost any building. It's just, but what's practical and what's affordable is where the sort of rubber meets the road. Well, we're past 8 o'clock. I've kept everybody on. I'm sad that not everybody who registered ended up coming tonight, but hopefully I'll can reach out to them and send the video. So thanks all for joining, and look for our upcoming home tours, webinars. Get in touch with HeatSmart. I hope you'll enroll on our website, heatsmarttompkins.org, and have a wonderful evening.